Let's get started here, everybody. So why don't you know what, Pete? Why don't you start first? Let's start
All right,
first. Who do you think is going to be that next player to take that step up?
all right. Well, let's stick with the trend of Germans here. Mr. Dennis Schroeder being the former German. The current German I'm going to speak of is Franz Wagner. I think Franz is due.
Yes.
You know, we're talking some Orlando Magic. Brad just brought him up. I think Franz Wagner is going to thrive this season. I mean, if you guys have seen any of this, these international games going on, Germany has really been playing very well, and Franz Wagner is a huge reason for that. I think he's averaging almost 20 points a game right now. And it's not like he wasn't doing it last season, just nobody was watching. Like, he was legitimately probably the fourth or fifth best rookie last season in a stacked rookie class in terms of his production last season. And when it comes down to it, and we've talked about this a few times, we're going to talk about it a lot more as we come closer to the season. Paolo is just, I think he's one of those guys. I think he's one of those guys that's going to make everybody on his team so much better because he's going to draw so much attention defensively. There's going to be a lot of times where you see Paolo getting double teamed. And I say that because, I mean, I kind of put an asterisk on it because they're not going to be super good. I think this is like a sneaky, like a play-in team, Orlando.
You think
Especially
so?
if Franz,
This
I
year?
think they really are. I think they could be. I think they could
I
be. 'Cause
agree, yeah.
I think
Ooh.
Paolo is, I would say he's a guaranteed 20 a game scorer his rookie season. I mean, to me, he's the clear-cut rookie of the year. He's got all the tools. He's built way bigger than all these other rookies that come into the league. I mean, I said it to you a few months back, and it sounds like hyperbole, but there's not many guys that come in built 6'8", 6'9", 240, 250 like Paolo. I mean, like LeBron is one of those guys you look back and just see what he could do physically straight off the bat. And it's, I mean, it speaks for itself, but the thing is, Paolo's got like a really refined offensive game, and that's going to open up a lot for Franz too. And I think he's got all the tools. They're going to thrive next to each other. So one thing I think too that's going to really stick out with this Magic team is Franz's playmaking skills. I think they're pretty underrated. And being able to create and, you know, get that space with Paolo and just all these other, like, the thing with Orlando is they have so many tools. Whether or not you love any of their players, you have to like most of their players. Like, they have lots of good young talent. So Franz is my number one guy. He's actually the reason I thought of this segment in the first place, just because I was watching him in these European basketball games and just, I don't know, man. I see this guy as like maybe Sabonis is the highest level he's going to reach in terms of like a fringe all NBA all-star player, but I think he's better than that. I think he is. No offense
I'd
to
say he's
Sabonis
better,
fans out
for
there. I
sure.
think he is too. I think he is too. I think he's
don't
got more
tell Sean that.
tools.
I'm
sorry, Sean. I just see more tools and I see better playmaking. Like, I would argue way better playmaking than Sabonis, especially at this point in his career too. So I'm excited to see just how he fits in a better team in Orlando. And I think that people are going to be really surprised. Like, people think of him and they think of his brother and they think of these kind of, you know, less athletic, big European white dudes. And I don't really think he kind of fits into that mold as much. I think his offensive game is just a little too deep to be in the same league as like a guy like Nurkic, for example. I think Nurkic is fine, but he's just better than that. He's going to be better than that for sure.
Yeah. I mean, Brad, do you agree with that? Is that your take?
Hey, I like I love that take. I'm a huge Franz Wagner fan, especially touching on his playmaking. I think him and Paulo together will just give teams hell because that versatility is insane. Paulo can play make, Franz can play make, and they both draw a lot of attention. So it's Wendell Carter Jr. too on the back line, who's actually hitting threes now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
nice.
I love them. He is nice. He's better than Vucevic. That trade is already an L for the Bulls.
That trade is one of the biggest
disaster
L's
trade.
in the last 5 years. Honestly, if you
Yeah.
go back and look at that trade, that is like a devastatingly bad trade. Because for
Yes.
Vucevic, they ended up with Franz and Wendell Carter Jr. Both of those guys are better than Vucevic.
Yeah, that was a terrific trade.
Yeah, that trade is mind blowing. I can't believe more people don't talk about how bad that was.
Right? It should be talked about. And I think with their guards, like, I'm a huge Markelle Fultz believer. I haven't given up hope.
Yep.
He was great when he came back for them last year. Their guards are so dynamic. Cole can score. Fultz can play make. That Magic team, they're for sure a playing team, if you ask me. Like, if you catch them sleeping, they'll beat you.
Like
Yeah.
it pains me to say it. They're better. They're better than the Knicks are. Like they
Easily.
are.
Easily.
I'm a root for my Knicks no matter what, but they're better than my Knicks are, and that's just the truth. It's unfortunate. There's a lot of teams I think in the East that you definitely, if you're sitting there objectively, if one of these dudes takes a leap, if Paolo comes in as rookie of the year, clear cut. I mean, I truly think they are a play-in team. I'm not even really like just saying it's a long shot, but I think they can do it.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it more in our preseason predictions, but
Yeah.
I really think they're going to get there.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely
They all shoot threes too.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you. They all
No,
shoot
no.
threes. That's one of the underrated things about Franz too is his three-point shooting. Like he can really shoot the ball. Paolo can shoot the ball. Wendell Carter can shoot the ball. They're a dynamic squad.
Yeah.
And they have size. The whole team is
Yep.
just freakishly huge.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like Orlando a lot.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me a little bit of that team last year for the Cavaliers when they went kind of with that all pseudo big lineup and everyone was making fun of it. But this is a little bit different because now you have a guy in Franz who again is playing a small forward but at 6'10", so KD-esque. You got Paulo who's like 6'9", 6'10", I think. I can't remember his height. But again, tall.
He's like 6'11", legit.
Yeah, I think he's honestly like getting close to 6'11" now.
I mean, he's a tall dude. I mean, if you have already two guys in the backcourt plus Wendell Carter, who I believe is also 6'10", 6'11", I mean, three guys already in your starting offense is bigger than 6'10", respectively. I mean, that's going to lead to a lot of some crazy defensive switches. You can do a lot of crazy defensive things that you want, just like the Cavaliers did last year. And so I'm interested to see if the coach, I can't remember who the coach is for the Magic, but I'm hoping that
Jamal Mosley.
I'm hoping that he can kind of incorporate that type of style that Bickerstaff kind of did last year with the Cavaliers to this team, like defensively, because I think you could get a lot of great things. And like you guys were talking about, Franz, he was on my list as one of the guys that I was like, okay, this guy is definitely going to be in the running. And basically what I think this whole list comes down to is most improved player. He definitely has the ability to take that next step. I mean, again, shot 47% from the field, 35 from three. I mean, 35 is really good. Again, 32, I believe, is average. 32, I think, for me at least. But I mean, again, he could creep up into that 40% if he works on it. And for a guy his size, shooting 86% from free throw, that is a huge thing for me, especially in late game situations. Especially if you're, taking those fast break fouls now that you get free throws for it. I think it's going to lead to some good things.
Finally.
So finally with that no one wants to see you just foul so you can just kind of set up your defense. So I'm excited about it. Franz is going to be a good player.
One thing too, let me throw one.
Okay.
Can I add one little guy in just so we can get away from Orlando? Yeah. One guy too I was going to talk about is Jonathan Isaac. Like if this dude can actually get on the court with this team, he's such a perfect fit for what they need. I think people forget that Jonathan Isaac exists because he's injured so much and he just never plays. If anything, I think people know him from like when you sim an NBA like 2K20, he always wins the defensive player of the year in like a season or two. He really is like that special on defense when he's healthy. So if they could get him into this lineup with all their shooting, size, versatility outside, I mean, I think people would start to, come back to terms with like, hey, this guy actually is super duper talented. And defensively, he's one of those guys that can really, start to change and impact games in a winning way. So I just think Orlando's super deep. But yeah, let's move on.
All right.